Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 17, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Once we decided to go for the penultimate magical world of Madoka Magica, I realized or thought of something rather interesting. Serafall, Sona, do you think we could get the process in which a magical girl's soul is turned into a soul gem or whatever from Kyubey? I asked, and Serafall, who was sipping from her glass of slushy water, tensed with the glass shattering at the mention of Kyubey. Sona and Serafall shared a look before Sona spoke softly. We aren't human at all, so who knows if Kyubey would even entreat with us. But you, being a pure human, a male at that, capable of using magic, would likely get his attention. Sona mused while Serafall was more focused on the other end of the spectrum. If we could merge the miracle creation with the evil pieces in the rebirth process. Serafall mused, and I shuddered at the thought of newborn devils having conceptual magic like Hamura with her time magic that's tied to their wishes. Or hell, the incubator's whole wish-granting nonsense that could beat the entropy of the universe via harvesting the emotions of sentient beings was insane in and of itself. Lightning struck my mind. As I made a great leap of logic. The entities, in Scion and Worm that I needed to kill, wanted to end the multiverse's entropy. What if I gave Scion the modified version that used the emotional seeds born of a sentient being to be used as fuel to stop the entropy of the universe? I could use that as a trap, to say nothing of having someone in Worm literally just wish for Scion to die via that wish nonsense. Either way, there are still a couple of days until my teleportation resets. I reminded Serafall, who pouted before nodding in acceptance. Anyway, I said, standing up from my couch with a groan. I want to get back to bounty hunting to grow stronger. Is there any peerage members that are free? I asked as I flipped open the bounty board and went for the lower-ranking bounties known to be within a few dozen kilometers of Koho City. Sona hummed and thought for a moment before speaking. Momo, Tsubaki, and Tsubasa are available. She offered, and I raised an eyebrow at the people she offered up, but after a moment of thought, I nodded and responded. How about asking Momo if she is free and willing to go with me and get a cut of the bounty? I finished, and Sona shrugged, taking out her cell phone and texting her bishop, my inquirer. While Sona was busy, I looked over to Serafall, and I couldn't help but smile as a thought came to mind. So Serafall, how much do you think Kyubey would shit itself, seeing an adult magical girl like you dropping a glacier on some poor witch? I teased, and Serafall's face twisted into an ear-to-ear grin that I swore used to devil shape-shifting as it just wasn't natural. But Serafall then wore a cold smile as she folded her hands together and spoke. It depends on when we land in that timeline. Will it be after Madoka makes her wish and becomes a goddess, or we could even be unlucky enough to land in any one of Hamura's lost timelines? Serafall mused before shrugging. Either way, I got a magical viral mimetic cognitive hazard that I can spread through the Kyubey network. But Jake, listen for a second. Serafall said with a depraved light filling her eyes as she giggled. So you know how Kyubey can take a humanoid female form? Serafall winked repeatedly, and my lips turned up in disgust at the thought of fucking and binding a complete sociopath like Kyubey, so I strongly shook my head, and as I stopped, I saw Serafall looking at me with a relieved smile as she sighed with relief. Good, I was worried that you would desire to bind any being of power you could get your hands on. I am glad to be wrong then, Serafall said with relief clear in her voice. Sona then cut through the conversation dryly. Disregarding any such notions of Jake becoming the greatest ventriloquist by sticking his cock up a stuffed animal and making it moan. Momo has agreed and will be here in 5 minutes. I literally had to cover my face to cover up the slight flush that came to my face at Sona's remarks, while Serafall, being a shameless devil of several millennia, only shrugged. Thankfully, Momo got here sooner than she said, so Serafall wasn't able to needle me and Sona anymore as she herself needed to get back to the underworld to take back over the duties she had been throwing at her peerage members to do. Hey, Jake. Momo said energetically, seeing me, and then a small flush crossed her face as she seemingly remembered our degenerate hand-holding in the magical training room when I broke her previous knowledge of magic. But I didn't tease her and greeted her with a nod as I spoke. Momo, would you care to step outside and help me choose a bounty to go after? I asked, and Momo raised an eyebrow as she looked to Sona for confirmation, who nodded and waved her hand. Go ahead, Momo, you have my blessing, and Jake, Sona spoke with her slightly flushing as she continued with a poorly kept together straight face. I also give you my blessing. She finished before she waved her hands for us to leave for her and Serafall to get some alone time for the first time since our joining. With Momo clearly confused as hell about what Sona meant, I hid my wry smile as Sona's power fetish was showing up, but I quickly pulled Momo into a side room so we could discuss what bounty we should go after. After a couple of minutes, we singled out a trio of wolf Yukai brothers that had gone rogue from their duties, and after being punished for their dereliction of duty, they had apparently snapped and slaughtered a small village of humans, and thus had a large bounty slapped onto their asses for their strength level due to them being messy. These guys should barely be mid-class apiece, so we should be able to handle them, especially when they are noted as having no magical abilities beyond some decent body reinforcement, I noted as I checked the wolf yokai's information with Momo, agreeing with my choice. So, we going lethal or capture? Momo asked me bluntly, and as I took in the information about the wolf yukai and read how they literally ate people, the choice was already made. Lethal. Even if they get turned in alive, we get nothing more, and the yukai are just going to harvest them for magical reagents if not just execute them anyway. I finished flatly, and Momo paused at my words before she sighed. Momo poked my shoulder with a sad smile as she spoke. Alright, I see how these guys aren't any good, but don't leap to killing if it doesn't serve a purpose. She advised me, and I could only agree as she was right with her reminder.